Okay, another Captain Underpants review. Let me just get this book out of the way. And there we go. So, this one is called Captain Underpants and the Wrath of Wicked Wedgie Woman. I don't have the shiny cover, though I think that in the camera it looks like the shiny cover, but it's not. This is the old version of the book. Back in the olden days, when we didn't have the shiny covers, and we only had this on the back instead of the wonderful row of books all along the back of the cover, and I got this at a bookstore, I think, and it had like books stacked up to the side. You don't care about that. Okay, so anyway, so this one is. How about we just let's start the... We start off with George and Harold pretty much just saying blah 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 what happened in the past 4 books. And then we move on to an introduction which introduces the 2 main characters named George Beard and Harold Hunchkins. And they walk past beautiful... Well, I guess that's not really beautiful. Just please wear your socks on the gym floor. That's kind of just a school rule. But anyway, they switch the letters around and then they make it sound disgusting. What's interesting about this intro, though, is that normally it's either... just no one, they just simply switch the letters around, or Mr. Crump is watching them with frustration. However, this time it's Miss Ribble for some reason. Well, I guess it is because she's kind of a main character in this book. Then Miss Ribble gives information to the class. Let's see. Alright, settle down. I have some bad news. I'm retiring, but at the end of the school year. But the staff is throwing a retirement party for me today during recess. There will be lots of free chunky tofu. Yeah. Oh, by the way, about that activity book, I called it I think I called it crunchy instead of chunky, or was it I called it chunky instead of crunchy? Hang on, let me just go check. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's called Crunchy, and I called it Chunky. Okay, yeah. YouTube commenter pointed that out to me. I do apologize. Yeah, it's very interesting how in the past 4 books, the books wouldn't shut up about how bad of a principal Mr. Crump was, but this time it's showing how bad of a teacher Miss Ribble is. But anyway, Miss Ribble orders the children to make retirement cards for her, but she writes down exactly what they need to write, which I guess is better than them having to suffer through trying to make up good stuff for Miss Ribble when there pretty much isn't any. But anyway, George and Harold decide to do a different thing and simply make a comic, which I won't show to you because I don't want to be spoiling everything that happens in the book, because then there'll be no reason for you buying the book themselves, and I don't want to be taking Dave Pilkey's money from him. The point is that Miss Ribble hated it. So they're sent to the principal's office where the secretary is running? Huh? Was this like planned to be a TV show and this was the story for when Mr. Crump needed a day off or something? Like, why had... Wait a minute. Mr. Crump... I don't think Mr. Crump made a single appearance in this book so far. Where is he? But anyway, Miss... And... How do you say it again? Anthrope. Okay? And then she says that they need to do this. Monday is band practice canceled. Tuesday is school spirit day. Wednesday is cheerleader tryouts today. Thursday is football practice rescheduled. And Friday is yearbooks photos. So they change it to Monday, school canceled. Tuesday, National Wear Your Pajamas to School and Pick Your Nose Day. Wednesday, cheerleader tryouts today. Thursday, football practice rescheduled. And Friday, yearbook photos taken today remains the same. However, whoever makes the funniest face wins a free pizza party for their entire class. Ah, there's our good old Mr. Crump. Hey, whatever happened to those pointy, sharp teeth that he had in the last book? Have I ever mentioned that I feel kind of like George and Harold smushed together? I mean, like, not entirely. I'm just saying that I have the same writing skills as George, but I have a more closer personality to Harold, the guy who always wants an adventure but doesn't really want to be in charge and come up with all the ideas like George. Well, this seems completely out of his character for some reason. This seems like more something that George would do. But Harold makes a little thing saying that it's a retirement card for Miss Ribble, and asks Mr. Crump to sign it. And, well, let's just say Harold writes something on the card, which you will find out in a few more pages, and then he pulls reverse psychology on Mr. Crump to make him give the letter to Miss Ribble himself. We then have this thing that shows just how awful this school is, with the children crying as they're forced to sing a stupid song over and over again. Well, it doesn't say over and over again, it just says that they have to sing the song, but they're crying. And this isn't crying as in, we're sad that you're going. This is crying as they're sad that they have to sing this. Why haven't they talked to their parents and begged them to expel them from the school? Anyway, they have this stupid retirement party, and then Mr. Crump gives the letter to her, which turns out to actually be a proposal to her. Mr. Crump gets freaked out, but he just gets too shocked at what George and Harold did to him to speak. And all the other teachers are happy and think that they should throw a party on Saturday. On Saturday. Who throws a party at school on Saturday? But anyway, the week until the marriage was very. Wait a minute. Miss Ribble never said yes. Why are the teachers so happy that they're getting married when Miss Ribble never even said yes? But anyway, where was I? So, since George and Harold changed the paper thing that Miss Anthrop gave to them, the week crayon match went terrible, as children were obeying what it said on the papers, and the teacher had no idea what was going on for some reason. And all the kids attend the party? I mean, like, if I was their age, then my parents would never force me to go to school on a Saturday if I didn't want to. And Harold also does something out of his character again by wearing a tie. It's George who is the one that's supposed to be wearing a tie. But anyway, Miss Ribble shouts no when they do the whole, do you accept this man as your husband and stuff, making all the teachers realize that she never actually said yes. And then Miss Ribble says that the reason why she won't marry him is because of his nose, which is the most stupid excuse ever, and you will be hated for the rest of your entire life on the fact that you won't marry someone because of their nose. What happened to the whole you're supposed to judge people by their personality thing? And they have the same So Mr. Crump lets Miss Ribble know that it was George and Harold who pulled the prank on him the whole time. And then George and Harold decide to play hide and seek while Miss Ribble decides, okay, and then she throws a pillar down, flying food everywhere, and then we have this pretty cheesy Dr. Seuss sort of bit. Do you want, let me read it to you. The creamy candied carrots clobbered the kindergartners. The fatty fried fish fritters flipped onto the first graders. The sweet and sour spaghetti squash splattered the second graders. 3,000. They had three. There were only like. They needed 3,000 thawed thumbberries to thud the third graders. 500 frosty, fudgy fruitcakes flogged the fourth grader. How did they afford all that food? And 55 fistfuls of fancy French fried frankfurters flattened the fifth graders. Now I just got spit all over my. Then Miss Ribble covers all the children in drinks, and then finally they have this little thing with the wedding cake, which causes the wedding cake to fall right on top of her. It is revealed on Monday that George and Harold's usual grades are B's and C's, which are not that bad. But Miss Ribble says that now they're lowering them to F's and G. What are you talking about? You can't just change children's grades by the fact that they floppered a wedding cake onto you and pulled a huge inappropriate prank on you. Grades are judged by how well they work in class. How did they get B's and C's when they barely do any work anyway? So then George decides to use the 3D hypno ring. If they had the 3D hypno ring the whole time, then why didn't they use them in the past 3 books? They could have hypnotized that stupid Professor Poopy Pants or whatever, although I guess they never had a chance to get to the treehouse at that time. They hypnotized her to change their grades back to normal, and Harold makes sure, just because of the last thing that happened with the 3D hypno ring, and make sure that she won't do anything crazy like turn into Wedgie Woman, a supervillain that they created in one of their Captain Underpants books, and that they won't destroy Captain Underpants or take over the world. However, unbeknown to them for reasons, the 3D Hypno Ring will hypnotize the victim to do the opposite of what they're told to do if they are a woman. And then at one of George and Harold's sleepovers, Miss Ribble, dressed as Wicked Wedgie Woman, comes in and demands to see Captain Underpants, as she knows that they know about them because she read the comic books that they created. So George and Harold fight her, but accidentally cause the superpower juice to pour on her hair. It is revealed later in the 8th book that it was approximately a third. A third of the superpower juice went into Captain Underpants, a third of the superpower juice went into Wicked Wedgie Woman, leaving just 1/3 left in the container. Harold rescues the superpower juice, and they wonder what will happen since the superpower juice was never actually consumed by her, as it only... And it reveals that it simply gives her hair superpowers. And it also soaked into her brain for some reason, giving her super intelligence, or maybe that was just a joke, I don't really know. But anyway, we have these very cool little pictures where it takes you a few seconds to actually realize which ones are her hair and which ones are her real hands, and then her hair goes crazy as she ties George and Harold down. And then the biggest picture is here. A hand is holding a light bulb over her head to signal that she has an idea. All the others are building robots. And actually, one of her real hands is holding the book, but the other hand is actually from her hair. Her other real hand is scratching her head. I don't really know. She has like 50 hands. But anyway, so she builds robots of George and Harold's and pretty much orders them to take over their lives. Mr. Crump comes in as the substitute since Miss Ribble isn't attending school because she thinks that she's Wedgie Woman. But why on earth is no one realizing that there is a robot version of George and Harold? If there were these class clowns that were the biggest and most popular kids in the class, I think that someone would notice if they were being replaced by a robot. They look absolutely nothing like the real George and Harold. So anyway, this version of George and Harold are acting behaved, other than the immature George and Harold, which makes Mr. Crump think that they're up to something. And then Dave Pilkey decides to break the fourth wall for some reason, as Harold uses his robot powers in football to shoot the ball through the actual page of the book. Someone kicked a ball into the sky, and then all of a sudden the sky made a shape that looked like a page rip. I think that I would do more than just scratch my head. I think that I would actually freak out, and the scientists would go crazy over the fact that the sky is made out of paper, and make a bunch of scientific explanations, and the entire world would freak. Although I guess it was supposed to be a joke. But anyway, the ball is heading for Uranus, which is where the talking toilets went. And, you know, Uranus, blah, blah, blah. You know the joke. So anyway, Mr. Crump thinks that you can get in trouble for shooting a ball. But he just made a huge scientific discovery that the sky is made out of frickin' paper. Why would he get in trouble for making this discovery like that? But anyway, Mr. Crump snaps his own fingers, turning himself into Captain Underpants. But wait a minute, does that mean that he never snapped his fingers for the entire school year? So anyway, Mr. Crump runs into the school and turns into Captain Underpants, and then George and Harold extend their legs and arms. George and Harold and Wicked Wedgie Woman can see all this by looking through her live television screen. Why isn't Captain Underpants noticing it either? He seriously has no idea. He starts greeting them with, and then they start splatting them with spray starch, making him lose his superpowers for some reason. They then hang him on top of a pole, and Wicked Wedgie Woman sends an axe down to kill one of them. But there is no way for the axe to strike them both. It'll only strike one of them. Whatever. And then the axe ends up setting them both free. But hang on, if Wicked Wedgie Woman had juice soaked into her brain and she was super smart, why didn't she calculate the placement of the axe and know that it would end up setting them free? Wouldn't she have placed it in a different position then? So anyway, George and Harold start hiding behind a bush. Classic. Wicked Wedgie Woman holds all the police officers on poles, and in case if no one realized this, this is actually Wedgie woman in sign language. And all the buildings are on fire, and the robots are picking up tanks and cars and helicopters. This is like World War III. So George and Harold inform Captain Underpants that they are the real George and Harold, but Captain Underpants says that he lost his superpowers until he gets fabric softener. So they go to a store which is titled Everything Except Fabric Softener. Why hasn't it been crushed or set to fire by these robot guys? I mean, like, yeah, the title is also stupid, Everything Except Fabric Softener. That would mean that they would have time machines, machines that can slide through parallel universes, and full of world-changing accomplishments, and the only thing that they're missing is fabric softener. But I focus more on the fact that buildings are burning, and the world is ending, and nothing has happened to this store. And besides, even if it did have fabric softener, no one would be working there. Anyway, George and Harold have this really cool idea. Since Mr. Crump is hypnotized to be Captain Underpants, and since Captain Underpants only exists in their comics, then that means that anything that they write in their comics will immediately become true for Captain Underpants. So they write in one of their comics that if he says, "I summon the power of Anti-Panty World," then he becomes immune to spray starch. So all they have to say is, "I summon the power of Anti-Panty World," and he gets his superpowers back. Well, it's stated in the book that it was actually the placenta effect, but the whole thing that I just said sounds much cooler, so I'm just going to say that. So then we have the extremely graphic violence chapter, and Captain Underpants beats the both robots beats them up, and then George pulls reverse psychology of himself, saying that it's extra strength spray starch, despite the fact that Wedgie Woman already knows that Captain Underpants is currently immune to spray starch, and all they have to say is, "I summon the power of Anti-Panty World," and I'm assuming that just because it's extra strength, that it wouldn't happen. But anyway, it turns out to be hair remover, which is actually pretty smart, causing everyone to lose their hair. It doesn't really make much of a difference for George since he didn't have that much hair, and it doesn't make any difference to Captain Underpants since he didn't have any hair anyway. But anyway, wouldn't the parents be freaked out? Oh, wait. Right, the whole building catching on fire. Of course they wouldn't be freaked out if he was bald. But anyway, the whole point is that now that Wicked Wedgie Woman's hair is gone, that means that she just lost her superpowers. Captain Underpants is about to take Wedgie Woman to jail when George and Harold say that they know how to deal with her since she's their teacher, and tells Captain Underpants to go splash water on his face, which turns him back to normal. So they pull reverse psychology and hypnotize, and because since they know that the 3D hypno ring hypnotizes her to do the opposite of what they tell her to do, they simply say the opposite of what they want her to do, because then she'll do the opposite of that and therefore do what they want her to do. So they hypnotize her to stay Wicked Wedgie Woman and all that, thereby making her no longer Wicked Wedgie Woman. But they also say, "You will keep all of your superpowers," which of course will make her not keep all of her superpowers, because I guess that means that when her hair grows back, they'll regain their superpowers. But you can't change you can't change, if someone gains superpowers, you can't just get rid of it by hypnosis. You need to do a whole bunch of scientific experiments and all that. But anyway, they also hypnotize her to not bake fresh chocolate chip cookies for their class every day, and not to be the nicest teacher in the history of the school. So then she becomes a pretty nice teacher. So Miss Ribble becomes the only nice teacher in the school. Well, I guess Mr. Fide was a nice teacher, but he just got fired in the last book, didn't he? So anyway, since George and Harold and Miss Ribble are all bald, Miss Ribble decides to wear a wig. But why would she keep her tag on it? And George and Harold wear caps and stuff. And then we have actual speech bubbles in the book. Speech bubbles have appeared in the comics, but never in the book. But anyway, the point is that one of the girls asked Miss Ribble if the cookies were hard to make, and she says no, they were a snap. As she does that, she snaps her fingers, thereby turning Mr. Crump back into Captain Underpants, once again, making him fly out the window again. This is the final time that we will end on... This is going to be the final time that we end with Captain Underpants flying out the window, followed by George and Harold saying, "Oh no, and here we go again." From now on, or at least at this point, well, until book 12, each book will end on an actual cliffhanger that leads directly into the next book, which will be very interesting. But anyway, Captain Underpants actually, like, goes, like, full, like, jet power and screaming tra-la-la, which kind of scares me. I wouldn't actually want to hear the volume of him doing that. It seems to be unbearable to not cover your ears, so George and Harold would probably have covered their ears and fell to the ground. It's also revealed that this takes place in America since there's an American flag there. And then finally, we finished off with George and Harold saying that they're sorry. If you didn't follow the instructions on page 137. Oh yeah, in the extremely graphic violence chapter, they said, "Warning, the following chapter contains scenes that are so violent and naughty you aren't allowed to view them. We're not kidding. Do not read the following chapter. Don't even look at it. Just skip ahead to page 156 and don't ask any questions. P.S. Don't breathe on it either." Police officers punishes us for not following the rules, and then one of the police officers say that they need to bend over and give themselves 11 spankies in a timeout. So anyway, George and Harold apologize if they didn't follow the instructions on page 137, and they give themselves 11 spankies in a timeout, and say they can send a letter to there, and then we'll send you something fun. No, they won't. Of course they won't. But anyway, that's the end. And that seemed quick. Well, it seemed quick. I'm not sure. The video might be like 20 minutes long again, but it seemed quick to me. Anyway, so this book was brought to you by Dave Pilkey, the creator of the entire Captain Underpants series. Don't forget to read the books and enjoy the books, and read the spin-offs and enjoy the spin-offs. And I will see you next time where I review the next book in the series, which is called... Ah, dang it. Meh. Woohoo, I'm throwing it. Oh my gosh, it landed exactly on the book. There. Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy Part 1, The Night of the Nasty Nostril Nuggets. What is that thing? I have no idea, but I will see you there. Stop zooming in. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. Goodbye.